Art, you're on.
I'm on.
Hey, so you got your Wi-Fi back.
Well, can give credit to Suzanne for that.
Okay.
She was very proactive and found the phone number of, I can't think of the company now, the company that does our Wi-Fi and our phone.
Is it Grande?
And Grande, yeah.
Yeah.
And guy came out, he got here at about 8 o'clock this morning.
Wow.
And our modem had been blown out by the on and off power surges.
Okay.
And he's a pretty sharp guy because he came up with a little black sash shoulder and he just pulled another modem out of it. He is already anticipating that's what the problem was going to be.
Huh.
And hooked it up, checked it out, got the serial number and so forth off of it. And then it turns out our Grande account guarantees the modem.
Great.
We didn't even pay for the modem.
Nice. That's the way to fix something.
The whole thing took about 15 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, those guys, they know what they're doing. Yeah. Well, good.
Well,
and
he had to, because he had about 100 more customers lined up behind him.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole territory. Helen, you're here.
Yeah, we had to delay our trip. We're leaving as soon as we finish.
Okay.
And going and spending tonight in Austin and then flying out early tomorrow morning.
Okay, so the weather delayed you?
Yeah, we were supposed to go down Thursday.
Okay.
And it was just too awful. Power and all his juices were gone and I couldn't get over there. And his car had a sheet of ice about quarter to, I mean, just completely covered with ice. You couldn't open a door. You couldn't. It was wild.
Yeah.
So late Thursday when it turned, I saw that it was 31 degrees about 5 o'clock. I said, that's it. I'm going to try to get over there. And some wonderful young man was warming in his own car and he got out and helped me get to the sidewalk because I had fallen very hard last Friday.
Oh,
and
no.
So I'm not walking well. And so anyway, I appreciated that. And I got to the door. He thought I was the mailman. So I brought him over here so he could have some warmth. And he finally got power late last night.
Okay.
So wow. He's going to check everything out and see that all is okay. I mean, it's just been crazy.
Oh yeah, this is crazy time.
And your sermon today was wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, it was a good sermon.
Oh, thanks.
I thought it set up this chapter perfectly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm a recent convert to Lent. So I just, it never really quite worked for me with being saved by grace. So it was like having an appendix. It just didn't work for me. But now I'm on board. It took me some time, just a couple decades, that's all.
But you got there, and that's the important.
Got there, yeah.
But I won't be here next Sunday.
Okay.
I will be in California still.
Okay.
Just out of idle curiosity, what chapter are we on?
We are on chapter 6, Necessary Suffering.
Okay.
Yeah, and boy, it was a mess to understand.
Oh.
The end was fine, but oh my Lord.
Oh yeah.
Like what? I'm reading words and not having a clue. I can read a Supreme Court decision and get it. I mean, those were hard.
Yeah.
But I couldn't read this.
Well, thanks for saying that because it was a mess for me too. So
okay, that makes me feel better.
We will pool or whatever we got out of it. Maybe we'll get something. Hey, Gloria.
Hey, Gloria.
Hey, hi. Hi. Been an interesting Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have any water damage, but City Federation Club has a lot of damage. And so
Yeah.
I've been on the phone with Cincinnati Insurance this morning. The claims person has already called me. I called yesterday and filed a claim. They've already called, and so they're going to send out an adjuster, and they're moving fast. He said they had 14,000 claims just for plumbing problems in Texas, and I went, oh.
Where was the damage, Gloria? Because Becky,
The kitchen.
I'm sorry, this is a club that is a big
fine.
organization that used to be that Gloria and I are involved with. And she asked me if I had a key.
Yeah, the kitchen ceiling is probably going to fall in completely if the water is bubbling. And the pipe was in the ceiling. So one of the bathrooms there by the office. And then that hallway has water all in it, you know. I mean, it's not, but as Brooke Fowler said, it's not really bad. I mean, it could have been worse, and it didn't get to the hardwood floors, but it is a mess. But we've got good coverage.
Yeah.
And like I said, Purifoy took my message yesterday and I filed the claim, and Cincinnati's already called me from Illinois this morning. And the young man, before he got off the phone, he said, and I'm praying for Texas. And I said, thank you. We need it.
We need it.
We need
it. I asked the hotel where we're staying tonight, I said, y'all do have power, don't you? And he said, oh, yes. And I forgot to ask if he had water. Surely they have water. I don't know. So much of Austin is out of it.
Yes. But anyway, it's a good morning because we have heat, and well, I hope all of us do.
Jonathan got it late last night, finally.
Oh, well, we had ours on Thursday sometime, I think. Yeah. I can't remember now. The days have gone together.
Yeah, we got it Tuesday night about 9.
No, we didn't. We spent 2 nights at church. And I spent 2 nights at church. So, along with a few other parishioners. So, we enjoyed the company.
Peter, how are you?
Yeah, Peter.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling all better. I'm taking cough drops one after the other. Coughing.
Good.
Yeah, so that's a good thing.
Good.
So it's just a cold, right, Peter?
I had COVID.
No.
Oh, he's being facetious.
Oh. Oh well.
No, I'm really wondering, is it just a cold or not?
No, I had COVID and now I have a cough. I'm trying to, it's irritation.
Oh, that's right. I besmirched you, Dave. I forgot you weren't with us last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was bundled up in my cold house with a hat and a coat.
Oh, man.
Oh, gosh.
I think you're going to
look a lot better today, Peter.
Yeah, he does look a lot better.
I think you're going to win the contest today, Peter.
Yay.
Because we're going to start out with the worst snowpocalypse stories we've got and see who had it worse. I don't even feel like competing now, Peter.
That's right.
I think we just give it to you.
Look, Arthur's gone to Colorado.
Yeah.
Right.
Susan, you look warmer than you were last week.
Yes.
I am much warmer. Everybody does, except Arthur. Well, he personally looks warmer. Yes, I've been out riding my motorcycle. It's pretty outside.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
No.
It does seem a little chilly for that. Where is it in the 60s now?
I don't know. It was 61 when I was riding.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right. Should we go ahead and dive into the mess that is this chapter? I think we're going to need
like the best book I've ever read.
We may need you to help us on this one. Okay, so I'm just going to use the prayer for Sunday in the Book of Common Prayer. The Lord be with you.
And also you.
O God, our King, by the resurrection of your Son, Jesus Christ, on the first day of the week, you conquered sin, put death to flight, and gave us the hope of everlasting life. Redeem all our days by this victory. Forgive our sins, banish our fears, make us bold to praise you and to do your will, and steel us to wait for the consummation of your kingdom on the last great day through the same Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so so when soldiers would tell war stories, they would always precede it with, and I'm cleaning this up just a little bit. It was something kind of like, no kidding, there we were. So they would use a different word than no kidding.
Yeah.
But that was it. That set the stage for a good war story. So I want everybody to try it out. No kidding, there we were. Tell us what the worst part of the snowpocalypse was for you this week. Peter, you got to go last since you're going to win. We already know.
Deal.
Well, no kidding. Our power went out at 7:30 Monday morning. And we sat here all day. And I mean, we sat here for about 2 or 3 hours. And I thought, our fireplace works. We've never used it, but I just had it cleaned and worked. So no kidding, our fireplace really works.
Right.
And so, but we ran out of wood.
Okay.
So thank God for the church. Amy and I went to Christ Church and spent 2 nights there.
Okay.
And so, but I will say this, no kidding. We have 2 hens in a coop out in the backyard.
Huh.
And would you believe it? That both those hens survived and they're out there eating today.
Whoa,
Wow.
that's impressive. All right.
I'm calling a miracle number 1 and miracle number 2.
Yeah, so the hens might win. Pete, you're in trouble. Okay, who's next?
It's in the coop.
Have they laid any eggs?
Oh no! Oh no!
Well, that would be hardcore.
Too cold.
Now, my son in Dallas has chickens in his backyard, and he said they've been laying more eggs than normally during the cold weather.
Oh my gosh, that is unreal.
That is so weird. Huh.
Well,
Okay.
that's one way to keep warm.
Yeah. Well, let's hear it for the hens. Okay, who's next? War stories. How bad did it get? Yeah.
The worst few seconds of this adventure was when Suzanne and I were driving back from the church. In fact, I think we went to the church also in my Jeep, which set in 4-wheel drive and going 10 miles an hour, it had been doing pretty well. And then we hit an icy spot on West Adams, and it started skidding and turned a whole 90 degrees. And so that I was sliding down West Adams sideways, and then starting to slide into a ditch ahead. But fortunately, traction control and a little guessing on what's the right way to steer got the headlights pointed back in the right direction. And we got going. But it was fun.
That'll wake you up. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I saw people trying to do that on purpose. So
yeah, we used to do that on purpose.
I hope you didn't try to do that on your motorcycle.
I know I didn't take my motorcycle. I know better than that. I didn't take my car out. I didn't go anywhere. We had food, so we were okay. Bill's a great cook, and I even cooked, so it was good. I have no war story.
I know, me too.
The misery of the embarrassment of having power the whole time.
The scarlet letter.
Yeah, we did have we had someone come stay with us, so we weren't totally selfish and self-serving and everything.
Yeah, the shame of having power.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were praying for y'all. We were
Let's see, I got sick. Let's see, I tested positive 2 Wednesdays ago. No. 2 Wednesdays ago. And I knew that these things, it gets worse for some people. and I have asthma, so I've had a lot of experience with bronchitis. So I thought, okay, I'm going to watch a lot of TV, and the power stayed on for 2 days while I sat in a chair, and that was great. I don't normally watch much TV, but I thought, no, reading's too strenuous. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. I'm not getting out of this chair, and I might get up to eat, but that's about it. Go to the bathroom. The obvious things. I guess I should have said that. But felt really, and I drank a lot of, at least a half a gallon a day. And then the power went out Saturday, or was it Friday? And stayed off for, it was on and off. And the house got down, about the time we had our class, it was what? That was the coldest it got that day. So I'm in the hat and the coat, and I think I had 5 layers on. So I was doing pretty good, but could have been warmer. We had a fireplace going, so we could sit over there. But Lee never got sick, which is great.
Yeah.
So really, do I have that much? I was in Boy Scouts in New York. I remember sleeping in below zero weather. Mm-hmm. This is, I was in the military. This is something, I can do this. Just don't start coughing a lot, and you'll be okay.
Oh, man.
No, it was all right.
Yeah, you still win, Peter. I mean,
yeah,
I've slept in the snowbank too, but I didn't have COVID. So
yeah, that's nice.
You get all kinds of credibility points for that. My goodness.
Yeah. I had a good background in what not to do, having done it already.
Well, I used to really like, in the military long ago, they gave us Turpin Hydrate. Do you remember that ever?
No, I didn't get that deep into it.
Oh my, that would knock you out. There was no way to even cough with that stuff. I guess they didn't want the enemy to hear you coughing, so they'd give you Turpin Hydrate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
It'll do. Okay. Any other war stories?
Peter, how is your your patient?
Oh, he's out of the hospital as of Friday. He did have to go through what we call steroid treatment, but he's back home, and he's got a BiPAP, so something to breathe for him at night because he forgets to breathe. But that's it, back to his normal settings. While he's in the hospital, they had to crank it up a little bit, but from what I understand, he's doing real well. I'll see him again on Tuesday.
That's good.
We're so worried.
Yeah.
How about you, Helen? What?
Oh, well, I fell last Friday delivering bags. That was the worst thing that happened to me. I was terrified I might have broken my pelvis again, which I've done, but I don't think I did. I didn't go to the doctor, but I'm very, very sore, and I'm about to go. Tom and I are going to be taking care of a 2-year-old for several days, so that's going to be interesting. But anyway, I'm fine. Our son was without power for an awful long time, but knowing that he got through okay, when I went to pick him up, he said, I wrote lots of lectures, all longhand, during the day when it was light. I mean, he didn't know what time of day it was. It was crazy. But he said, I have a wilderness survival badge. What is or whatever that's called. Anyway, so he's fine. So we're all fine. And that's a blessing.
Good.
Well, good. Nancy, I've been thinking about you this whole time.
Yes. I have been trying to sign in. I didn't know there was a new codes.
Oh.
I was using the old Zoom numbers to get in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know it changed either. No.
But y'all are doing okay out there?
It's whatever was in the Sunday, the notice for Sunday service is what I used this morning, just now, and got in.
That's what I always use.
Yeah. We're doing fine, but I'm telling you, we are tired of this mess. It never ends. We had another blackout yesterday, all day.
Oh, I heard that. The Rosebud.
From late morning until after midnight sometime.
Wow.
Are y'all boiling water?
But, oh no, not out here in the country.
Are y'all boiling water?
No, but we didn't have water when we got our electricity back on Tuesday. We had no water. We have a private well. Had to have our well man come out and look at it, and the pump was fine. We just had some frozen pipes. Fortunately, they were right there, and we were able to solve that issue. So we're fine.
That's great. I've been thinking about you.
A lot of tree damage. A massive amount of cleanup work to be done here.
Yeah.
Well, on the bright side, you may have some firewood for the next one.
I'm sorry, what?
When you clean up the tree damage, you'll have some firewood for the next cold
Yeah,
spell.
it's pine though. We had a lot of pine trees. That was the damage.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Dave, what about you?
Well, we went out of power Sunday, and let's see, it came on, was it yesterday afternoon? So we were without electricity. We did have one pipe break at the very beginning, and we were able to get a guy out to come and fix it real quick. We have a gas fireplace, and we've hardly ever used the thing, but we sat by it day and night for 4 days. And I fortunately had a Kindle that was all charged up. So I got so much reading done. And I'm thinking, wow. Well, when the power came back on, Bev and I both said, oh, darn, we're going to kind of miss this. Yeah, there were some good things about it. It certainly made life simpler in some ways, but then more complicated in others. But it is a wonderful prelude to a chapter on necessary suffering.
Oh, and by the way, Dave, thank you for the sermon this morning.
Oh, sure. Thanks. Yeah.
Good words.
Thanks.
Good words.
Yeah, I was telling the others, I'm kind of a recent convert to Lent. It's taken me a long time to get on board, but I'm on board with it now. Okay, so necessary suffering. What did this mean to you? What the gist of this chapter?
Surrender.
Surrender, okay. Mm-hmm.
It's when we surrender, as you say, that we find our real relationship with God and begin anew.
You know, I want to read y'all something.
Okay.
Hang on. I think I've got it on my phone. I read this, and it's actually, it was written by Richard Rohr. Let me see if I can find where I put it. Well, I've got so much stuff on I may not be able to find it. Well, keep going and I'll keep looking.
Yeah, so it's a surrender. And so anything else that came up to you in reading this chapter that really was like, oh, this is good?
I guess I'm the Richard Rohr negative pole. I mean, my impression was, so what did you expect? I mean, from my background and I think teaching, my spiritual development, what do you expect? This is what it's going to be.
This is the program, yeah. In fact, there is a part here in the chapter, Art, when we get to it, that I'm going to need your explanation on the unified field, where he brings that again. So
I can make some comments.
We're going to need to cover that. So if I bring up the difference between first and second order change, does that mean anything to any of you? Have you heard of that concept? Okay, so I'll use an illustration. So we're cruising along on this.
First order pennies and second order is quarters.
Say that again? Well,
first order change is pennies and second order change is quarters.
Okay, but yeah, let's. And Too deep, yeah. I'm going to use an illustration for going on a cruise. So we're all on a cruise, and and we have to pull some duties, you know, part of the deal. And so the captain says, "I need you to go out there and rearrange the deck chairs on the deck there." So we go out and we rearrange the deck chairs. And that's called first order change, when you just do these simple things that change something and solve an immediate problem. But then one of you looks over and sees that the name of the ship is the Titanic. And the second order change is one of us, because we know the future, goes running up to the captain and says, "We got to change course." So that's second order change. First order change is sometimes in therapy is referred to as people moving the deck chairs on the Titanic. So there are things that we do to make changes that don't really have the necessary change that's really called for. And when we get into necessary suffering, some of that first and second order change is going to play out, and I'll kind of point out some of that to you. But what do you think he means by the difference between necessary suffering and unnecessary suffering? What would be an example of unnecessary suffering?
This week, like this week, all the, you know, because, you know, a tree fell on a power line or whatever, you know, being out of power and having to deal with circumstances. Is that?
Well, and actually there would be an application that might be probably a little bit too divisive in our group to bring up about some of the, and this is not me sharing any particular political ideas, but the idea of if we had winterized the system,
yeah,
that would have been necessary suffering. But because we didn't winterize the system, then this could be seen as unnecessary suffering. Right. Now, again, I'm not trying to say that I mean,
right.
If I'm going to choose affordable power, I'm not sure I want to spend all the money for the winterizing if it's going to happen every 10 years. I don't know. That's the political part, which I don't want to get into, but it's that first order change. There's some things we just got to bite the bullet on. We make the change, and then we don't have the ripple effect that happens for other things. So I think that's what he's talking about with necessary versus unnecessary suffering. But we're going to steer it back around to our spiritual and emotional lives. Okay?
Okay, I've got an example, necessary and unnecessary suffering.
Yeah, good.
Okay, when my skid occurred, that was a necessary suffering. I had to get home, and I was being very careful, and it actually didn't end up me having to call a tow truck to pull me out of the ditch. Unnecessary suffering is what happened to the cars that went speeding past me with the young drivers in it. And we later found them with their hoods buried in mud in the ditch in the side of the road.
Okay, yeah, that'd be the unnecessary suffering.
Well, did he also mean it as when we fight against what we're facing?
Yes.
And when we give it up to God finally and receive the mercy and grace,
bingo,
there's a huge relief.
Yes.
A huge relief.
Right. Yes. Yes. So yeah, go ahead, Susan.
I found what I was looking for. It's what I'd sent it to you. I'd forgotten I'd sent it to you.
Was it from Rohr's
breathing
underwater?
Breathing underwater, yeah. Can I read that? Or is that okay? Yeah. Okay. It reads, until you bottom out and come to the limits of your own fuel supply, there's no reason for you to switch to a higher octane of fuel. For that is what is happening. Why would you? You will not learn to actively draw upon a larger source, which is capitalized, until your usual resources are depleted and revealed as wanting. In fact, you will not even know there is a larger source until your own sources and resources fail you. Until and unless there is a person, situation, event, idea, conflict, or relationship that you cannot manage, you will never find the true manager, also capitalized. Yeah. So God makes sure that several things will come your way that you cannot manage on your own.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything that helps us to get to our limits.
Yes.
And then once we reach our limits, to welcome in God. That's like the goal of the whole thing. That's jackpot. But when people are at their limits and then try to work their facade to make sure that they still look respectable and they've got it all and that they're in charge and all that, there's suffering that comes from that, from those trying to hide, who I really am and my limitations. And that's the kind of suffering that's unnecessary. So I was thinking of a TV show. Bev and I have started rewatching a show that we watched some years ago called Ozark. Anybody seen the Ozark? It's like it's a morality play, if you will, of people who make bad decisions. They're always solving a little problem, but every small problem that they solve, it opens them up into this world of hurt that they're now entering into. And they go from one disaster to the next, but they actually look like really, the people you like to have as your neighbors, fine, upstanding citizens. They've got the facade down, but they make their solutions cause the real problems. And it's what I witnessed when I was doing marriage and family therapy in the military for years. It was the families that would come in, we'd ask them, well, what have you done to try to solve the problem? And it was usually the thing they tried to solve the problem with that created the real problem that we had to then get back to work through all that to the second order change. So can you think of any examples of people who, when they get to their limits, rather than then reaching out and inviting God in, which is the ultimate second order change, but instead they double down and they try to keep the facade, keep the thing going. And then that creates even further problems. Go for it, Susan.
Well, no, I don't want to.
Okay.
But I've seen that a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. When I was doing my second master's, but it was in counseling, and they had a requirement that we had to go, we were taking courses in addiction, and they required us to go to an AA meeting, some of the open meetings. Mm-hmm. And I was already an ordained minister in another denomination, and I'd been to seminary, and I'd been in church for years. But I went to my first AA meeting, and I came back from there and I said, man, that's what the church could be. Because I heard people standing up and saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm an alcoholic. And I thought, man, that's what the early church used to be. It was, they all admitted they were sinners. They'd gotten rid of the facade.
Right.
And that they knew that they needed God. And that was the only thing keeping them going. The only thing worth living for, too. But I found that example of people who could get to the point where they hit bottom really hard, and they could finally just say, I'm going to give up trying to create a facade. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, and I'm going to join in this group. And I heard, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict. And everyone said, hey, it was a welcoming, it was a community that really welcomed in. That's the big second order change. First order change is I'm drinking too much. I don't want everybody to see what I'm doing. I try to act fine. I'm cool. I got this thing taken care of. And creating the facade, keeping the secret, but then finally getting to the point where they can say, I'm going to stop keeping secrets. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to let that go and join into this community that has a great track record for helping people like me. Okay, so does that sound like necessary versus unnecessary suffering? Anything popping up in your mind yet?
Well, we probably do that a lot during our everyday life. I mean, we just won't let go of things. You know, we'll worry about it, and then all of a sudden you think, well, I can't do anything about this. I've just got to let it go. But I would think that pops up generally, you know, if we're really being honest about it, it pops up quite a bit when we just try to take care of things ourselves and it just doesn't work out for us. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't work out.
No.
And you know, I looked at this on page, I'm on 73, the large print, but
large print, okay.
He said that it has also shown me that neither I nor the churches themselves really live much of the real gospel.
Yeah.
At least enough to actually change our present lifestyles. And that just sort of hit, you know, at first I went, oh, wait a minute, but that really sort of hit. If we really are going to practice the gospel, then we have to change the way we feel about things and change systems that are problems to other people. You know, I listened to a program. He was talking to people in Birmingham, and the one person said, I just want people to see me as a human being.
Yeah.
This is a Black person. And I thought, well, how hard can that be? But if you don't let go of some things, or people don't let go, that just really got me. I want you to see me as a human being.
Yeah.
I went, oh God.
Yep.
So I don't think we're doing enough of that kind of practice to change systems of the, you know, try to help. I know we can't change people's minds, but at least try to live the gospel. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe I'm not making sense. I don't know. I'm just, today.
You're making wonderful sense.
Well, today it just really touched me when all of those people stood in a circle, and then some other things that I saw, when they want to be seen as people, as human beings, and that they have problems. And, you know, we've got to change the systems. We've got to work with that. And I know that's not going to come easy, just like it's not going to come easy to change this Texas grid problem, because they've got they knew that if it got down past 10 degrees, this system would not work. And they've known that for a long time. So I kept thinking, we know that if we don't get past some of this racial injustice, this system is going to get to the breaking point. Yeah. We're going to get to that disaster. You know, they called it a catastrophic moment or whatever that we almost got to.
Yeah.
We were just minutes away from it.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel right now. We're minutes away from a catastrophic disaster with people.
Yeah. You're right on.
Not just the weather. Yeah. Not just the weather. This week has been, thank God for the church. And I was there with people and we talked about things. We even had an Ash Wednesday service in the church.
Oh, neat.
And that was great to feel that way and to have meals together. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we could experience this more with a lot of other people?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's really been, I don't know, this week has really been suffering in some other ways. Yeah. I think. I don't know if sometimes maybe it is necessary suffering. Maybe we need to get to that point.
Yeah, sometimes we do. Sometimes we just got to hit bottom really, really hard.
Yeah. Well, like I'm a teacher too. Mm-hmm. And students would be like, I'm failing. You know, I'm smart. Why am I failing? I don't have trouble in math. I don't have trouble in history. Why am I having trouble here? And I would like outline, well, are you doing the readings? Are you doing your homework? Or, you know, are you spending the extra 10 minutes studying? Are you coming in for tutoring? And they're like, no, I don't have time for all that. I'm on the golf team. I have to do this and that and that. And I'd say, okay, well, yeah, I know you experienced that, Helen. People would ask for help. And you'd say, well, have you tried this?
Yeah.
Well, no, I haven't tried that. I don't have time for that. And it's that kind of thing that I think he was talking about, that, you know, what you were just talking about, Dave, is we come in and we're seeking. We know we don't feel right in our, you know, that we're uncomfortable, that whatever it is we're doing is not working, but so we're just going to keep doing more of what we're doing. And, you know, I did that for years. I would just put more of me into the equation, thinking that would resolve the problem, until I reached that crisis point, or that catastrophic point where I was like, I'm all ears. I'm ready to listen. What do I do next?
Yeah. Who was it that said the definition of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome?
Yeah, exactly.
I tell my students that all the time.
Yeah.
I had this kid that just threw his test paper down on his desk once, and in front of the whole class said, I cannot make above a 70 in this class. I cannot. And I said, okay, you know, we don't have very many exams. So what are you doing different? Nothing.
Yeah.
More of the same does not.
Yeah, more. That's the thing. More of the same. That would be an example of first order change. Just keep doing more of the same, moving the deck chairs around, but doing something different, reaching into that new place. And for us, ultimately, is with God, intervention from beyond. You know,
let God recreate our lives.
Yeah. And Gloria, you mentioned, Gloria, the changing of systems, and one of the famous examples of the changing of systems is, and you've probably all heard it, where these people go down to the river, and every day there's somebody in the river drowning, and they have to go along and rescue them, and they keep rescuing people, you know, every day, rescuing people from the river, and finally, and everybody thinks they're great, they're rescuing people from the river, and finally one of them says, I'm going to go upstream and see who's been throwing people into the river, and goes upstream and says, what is this? And comes back down and says, we got to change this. Those people are doing bad things. And that's second order change. And that's the stuff that really pisses people off. That's when you start getting into all kinds of controversies. We can do first order change all day long and everybody's going to go, thanks. But it's that second order change.
Vestries don't like second order change.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have to put a lot of work into it. You know, just like you said, the student hadn't done this or hadn't done that, but they don't want to do anything. But if we really want to do this, we're going to have to work at it.
Yeah.
Do you know what that I found out though this year? That when I have to do something that's hard like that I have to do a lot of work, and it's over my head and I can't do it. You know, Harriet, y'all know Harriet?
Yeah.
She told me, she said, have you asked God to help you? And I was like, well, no, I thought I just had to get this done. And so I've been asking God to help me when I do stuff that's hard, and I'm getting help every time.
Right.
Every time.
Right.
Amazing.
Great.
Something just occurred to me.
Remember my little thing. Good morning, this is God. I will be handling all your problems today. I do not need your help.
Yeah, Flo sent me one of those too.
Okay, Art, what do you got for us?
Yeah, it just occurred to me about second order change.
Yes.
That is many times when people don't want to embark on a second order change is because of the expense of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Often second order change costs you money.
Huge amounts.
Or pride.
And pride.
Well, pride too, but
or being right. Oh my gosh, to find out that you've been wrong all along. That's wow. That's
Some people will give up their pride before they give up their money.
I don't know a lot of them.
But sometimes it's the other way around too.
But you're absolutely right, Art. That's the second order change. That's where it costs. And that's where often the big battles are over second order change. So I think that's what Richard Rohr kind of is getting at, that there's a necessary change. It's the doing the hard work of changing direction, changing systems, and that until we do that work, we're just going to see a lot of people still out there drowning in the river, or whatever the case may be. And it is often a change of, giving up pride. So I'm going to give one example and see if you can think of any others. But this comes from St. Francis of Assisi. So he, in the first half of his life, was all about looking good. He was a partier, the one who would bring all these buds together in the town of Assisi. And he was the one paying the wine bill and for the feasts. And he was always dressed in the best stuff. And he was a real kind of rock star out there singing. And I mean, they loved Francis. But when he went through his change, he realized he had to get rid of all that pride that he had. And he knew that his problem was that he could create a facade like nobody else's business. So he got to the point of just being absolutely, genuinely honest with everybody and would say, basically, I'm a hot mess. And, and really prove it and show them. So anyway, he got to this point, you may have heard of it, but he actually had this first of the stigmata. And I'm not sure if I believe it or not, but anyway, the story is that he has the stigmata, and the wound in his side was so painful after that. And some of the brothers said, you're in so much pain. Why don't you just stop? Why don't you do something for yourself and get rid of the pain? And their remedy was to go out and kill a rabbit and sew some rabbit's fur on the inside of his brown tunic robe. And so he finally said, okay, I'll do it. But if I'm going to sew it on the inside of my robe, I'm going to sew some on the outside so that when people look at me, they won't say he's just taking care of himself on the inside and creating a facade of looking like he's in penance all the time on the outside. But that's how afraid he was of pride, that any little brick in the facade of looking good, he knew was spiritual danger and that would cause him great spiritual harm eventually. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Paul sets a great example.
Okay, yeah.
What'd you say?
With I don't remember exactly what he suffered from. Was it pain in the hip or something like that? And he thanked God for that.
Yeah.
He thanked God for that.
Paul, he had a thorn in the flesh is what he called it.
Thorn in the flesh. I'm sorry. Yeah. My memory is going.
No, I just didn't hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good example. He was able to just say, hey, when I'm weak, God is strong. Cool. We're allowed to screw up. We're allowed to not look perfect. We are absolutely allowed to look like losers if we need to. And here's a Richard Rohrism that most people hate. He said, when you walk into a church and there's a crucifix, if you didn't know what these people were, you would say, why are they worshiping the biggest loser? Because losers were the ones who got crucified on a cross. And he kind of says it in a way that it makes sense. From one perspective, from just the world's perspective, Jesus is like the biggest loser ever. I mean, I'm not talking about resurrection on, because then he's like the biggest winner ever. But up to, if we leave it right there at the cross on Good Friday, big loser.
first time we ever went to a Maundy Thursday service and then did the stripping of the altar afterwards, I really saw that for the first time. It was like, whoa, they just trashed this guy. They totally trashed this guy.
Yeah.
But he's, oh, wow, that was super powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, we follow someone who was not about looking good. The word kenosis, the Greek word, means to go low, to empty self, to get rid of it all, and to hit bottom deliberately. And that's Jesus. That's his ministry. That's to follow Jesus, is to go into a kenosis movement of going downward.
And Gloria, look who he ate dinner with all the time.
Exactly.
He wasn't at the captain's table.
Right. Well, I have finished the book on Bishop Curry's, it's the one on love. I don't know which one, but I just finished it this past week. And Bishop Curry says so many things about Jesus and about love and about being humble. And if anybody knows about that, he certainly does. Because after that brain injury and surgery, he had to learn how to talk and walk all over again and write.
I didn't know that.
So he himself has gone through, oh yes, he felt that the day after he was
Don't tell me all that.
as a bishop. And they discovered when he was talking gibberish. So they discovered he had this brain injury. So he had surgery and he came back from it. But the words, his words, and they have really touched me this week. If you want to read something really inspirational, but just good old plain stuff. And he talks about his church upbringing. And of course, a lot of that. And then I've been watching the Black Church, you know, the music and the gospel music and singing right along with them this week. So that's been good too. But if you want to get something, Bishop Curry for me personifies the way of love and Jesus. I mean, he just puts it out there simply. It's Jesus.
Yeah.
And, you know, I haven't heard anybody say that in a long time. They skirt around it and you know, the three, the Trinity and in God and Jesus and Son, but it's Jesus. And he has just absolutely opened a door for me that was there. But I mean, I'm blown away by that book.
Good.
He's very charismatic. I love hearing him talk.
He is.
Me, you know, I just want to sit in his lap.
Just simple words.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, you know, he can say more in 5 minutes than I've heard people who are eloquent speakers.
Yeah.
He's got a way.
Yeah.
He has a way with love.
In fact, that was the book that Flo wanted us to study next in our adult forum.
Yeah.
And, that would be
I'll tell you, if you read that book, it will change up. I mean, it's great. It's great. Cool. He has a lot of moments in there. And of course, he was raised by a church member too. His grandmother and a church member. Yeah. Because his dad just simply couldn't cope with the children and so, but everything that it's just a good book. You need to read it. Just a good book.
Yeah, it might be the next one. Yeah, Richard Rohr is probably better to take by reading the whole book. I'm realizing chapter by chapter is kind of challenging to get much gold out of each chapter.
We went and watched a couple of his videos of him talking.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah. He is. He's a lot better when you look at him and hear him. It's a lot easier to understand.
He's a wonderful speaker, and that's his thing. That the other friars in his order say that there's never been a word spoken by Richard Rohr that somebody hasn't recorded. So they always have the tape recorder and now other things to record him, and then they put it into a transcript, and it becomes a book with very minimal editing. Mm-hmm. So that's part of what we're experiencing in the reading of the book. The message is great. It's just that he does spiral kind of dictation, kind of like the Apostle Paul did. There's a similar kind of movement that's challenging. But today, necessary suffering. I do have one question for Art, and I wrote down with the hope that you'd be here, Art. It's on page 72 in the big print book. And he says, I here use Einstein's term unified field to describe that single world of elementary forces, principles, and particles that he assumed held together the entire universe of space-time. Einstein said that he spent his life looking for this unified field. Anything there, Art?
Well, Richard Rohr doesn't know a whole lot about Einstein, and he doesn't know a whole lot about physics.
No, not what you know.
Yeah. Nobody knows what you know.
None of us knows what you know.
So I don't know. But
None of us.
I do know enough to know that Einstein there was some mathematics that Einstein was developing. And Einstein's an incredibly logical thinker, and was able to work out a lot of things using and it's a mystery. One of the great mysteries of physics, or of science in particular, is why does mathematics make so much sense? I mean, no one understands really why, when you start applying mathematical principles to analyze nature, you have such tremendously successful results. Why isn't it poetry? Why isn't it music? Why is it mathematics?
It is music. Music is math. Music is math.
Well, and in fact, painting is physics. But at any rate, so the person who really did work out the quantum field theory was a guy named Dirac, P.A.M. Dirac, an English physicist and mathematical physicist. And he worked out, how the marriage between quantum mechanics and the four-dimensional space-time continuum. And yes. Well, I was going to suggest that we read P.M. Dirac's book for our next session.
There you go. I'm in.
You'll have to teach that on a different Zoom.
Then I can experience true humility.
And with a little further
There we go.
contemplation, maybe not.
Yeah, I thought about you and I read that too, the unified field and that, and I think he was just incorrectly using a term.
Yeah, he's just grabbing a word that sounds.
Well, was he maybe making it an analogy that God is our unifying field and he is what brings it all together and makes it make sense?
I thought that's kind of what I thought, Helen.
That, of course, I see things at a level that's superficial, I guess, but.
Some people think that the four-dimensional space-time continuum is God, so.
Maybe they're right,
It's not?
No, it's a creation of God.
Okay, there you go. Was there anything in the chapter that anybody found particularly helpful to them as an individual? Anything that you underlined and said, yeah, this is it?
Look back.
I just think this is a great book. I think that the other one I'm reading is better. Because
Breathing Underwater?
Yes, it seemed to be as written like a dialogue like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it's recorded.
He even has a course that people sign up for on his website on the Breathing Underwater. It's one of the big hits. Yep.
Gloria was saying something about Jesus, and I thought this was I thought Rohr was finally getting down to brass tacks. Jesus, for me, always clinches the deal. And I sometimes wonder why I did not listen to him in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. He really, this guy, this author really speaks so people can understand him. Just like Bishop Curry, you were saying, and Dave, you're real good at that.
Except at the beginning of this chapter, which I didn't understand at all. But then I got it as we went on, as I read on.
And I think the videos help a lot, because when you hear him, it just, his word stress and everything, it's easy.
Oh, he's a super gifted speaker, yeah. He did talk about shadow work. Is anybody familiar with shadow work?
No.
So last weekend I spent most of Friday through Saturday and then Sunday morning in a Jungian spiritual direction workshop using a Jungian perspective. And a lot of that had to do with shadow work. So Jung had this idea that there's this part of us that we just don't want people to see. And again, it goes back to the facade, the part that we are conscious of, that I want you to know about me, Dave. And then there's this part of me that I don't want anybody to know. In fact, I don't want to know it myself. And whenever parts of that come up, it's this horrible thing, like, oh my gosh, I've got to keep that hidden, got to keep it in the shadows. So a lot of the work then, from Jung's perspective, and Richard Rohr in this as well, would be to allow that shadow work to happen, to start to get into that stuff, the horror stories that are lingering around in our dreams and stuff that we just don't want to even pay attention to. And to see and to ask them, what do you have to teach me? What is it that you bring to me that I need to know without freaking out? So that's another part of what he would say is the necessary suffering, is to allow, now as adults, to go back and to look at all the stuff we hid from as those young teenagers who wanted people to think we were okay and cool. But now as adults, we know we're not cool. We don't have to be cool anymore. We can get into that stuff and just like, hey, I'm a mess, yay. And to allow it to happen and to let that part integrate into our lives. So that was the only other thing I wanted to point out to you. Last shot. Anybody got something?
I don't think when I was a teenager, I ever had any trouble with trying to look okay and cool, because anybody that rode a bicycle with balloon tires and carried a bassoon in the back and forth from school every day was not okay and cool.
I love it.
That's good.
I know a tuba player that's really cool, but he's all grown up now.
That's great.
Hey, Dave, I wanted to tell you, I have a BB gun story that was almost exactly like your BB gun story.
So you read the story, huh?
Yeah,
yeah, I had fun.
I was hiding under the bed, though. I was when my dad came home.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to know the BB gun story, you got to read the Ash Wednesday for Kids stuff. Okay, well, shall we end with a prayer? And this is for the mission of the church. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Almighty God, you sent your Son, Jesus Christ, to reconcile the world to yourself. We praise and bless you for those whom you have sent in the power of the Spirit to preach the gospel to all nations. We thank you that in all parts of the earth, a community of love has been gathered together by their prayers and labors, and that in every place, your servants call upon your name, for the kingdom and the power and the glory are yours forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
So thank you, all you saints, for gathering and just letting us be us here.
There's a few sinners here. There's a few sinners here.
And we're all sinners. Yay. That's the main thing. That's the ticket into the club, right?
Right.
Only sinners get a savior. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Oh, wait, what are we doing next week?
Oh, it's going to be chapter 7.
Okay. All right.
On 7.
7. Yep.
Okay.
Bye.
Guys.